Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hearthstone. So, we have got 2 quests still to do. We need to win 2 games with Rogue or Warrior and win 3 games with Paladin and Priest. So let's go to Rogue or Warrior and let's switch to Casual, I suppose, because I think I need to be more sensitive to potential trouble that I'm walking into as far as not getting quests done in the 3 recordings. And ideally I'd like to get it done in 2 recordings. It should be 3 every time, but I'm so far ahead as far as Hearthstone compared to any other series. At least last time I checked I am. It actually may not be the case. If I think about that some more, if that actually may not be the case anymore, I may start to, well, it probably still is the case right now, but I may be closer than I think to balancing out things. One thing I want to do, speaking of recording things and balancing out the scheduled releases, is I want to finish Puzzle Dimension that I'm doing now, and well, right now I'm doing Hearthstone, then finish Puzzle Dimension after that, and then use that to then play Downwell. Yeah. There's a lot of down games right now. There's Downwell, there's Downfall, there's Undertale, which is not down, but it's in the same category in my mind for some reason.
Victory was promise.
Interesting way to start this.
X marks the spot.
Job's done.
Yeah, but Downwell is the game I want to cover it. I may very well just do a quick spotlight on it, put that spotlight into the schedule for what, small independent games, I suppose is where it should be. So not even in line with the Puzzle Dimension things. I guess that really means I should just, if I want to do it, and not worry about it.
Die, land lover.
But that is one of those games where I may play a lot of it, or I may play none of it at all. Certainly had the same thing with Spelunky, where I did just the spotlight of it and then really didn't play it much. Its roguelike aspects didn't grab me as much, and then speaking of roguelike aspects, the Rogue Legacy game, it still has some major stuff that I could go back and play too, but I no real reason to. There's, I mean, super difficult achievements on that I just don't feel like I'm ever gonna make it to it. So at the best, much like time clickers, all I could do is get everything to 100% to max level for no real reason. In fact, it's almost never worth your effort to get to max level in any game. It really isn't.
Here we go.
It's too much grinding, it's too much playing. They make games when they have max levels like that for people that want to spend 400 hours on it. And that's a tiny amount of people. And it's just not what a video game reviewer is going to have time to do. One thing I've been thinking about from a slightly new perspective, and I don't feel that I probably have made a full, concise thought here, but I have been thinking about just the overall Zen-like concept. It's not a Zen-like concept, but the the overall ambiguous concept of when you make a video game, you really only get one shot of it. Now that is obviously ignoring patches completely, because the truth is, as long as you can patch a game, you get more than one shot at it. And frankly, you've been working on the game for hopefully at least 2 years, so you've had lots and lots of attempts to get it right. But you only get that one release. And I heard on some podcast somebody talking about that, how things like Darkest Dungeon is a good example of a game that was in early access for such a long time that the early access is effectively the was its initial release. And now that it has finally gone to full, out of early access to full release, there's not as much excitement around the game, and things have changed since the early access, where people are upset about that quite a lot, and so it probably is a ridiculous thought, just as a game maker, to release a game in early access. It's just signifies that you want to release a game before it's finished, and that's not smart. It's not good at all. So I would avoid early access games. If somebody told me there was an early access game and there was a ready for sale game and told me no more information, I would 100% of the time take the ready for sale game. Because I don't buy on potential, and that's all early access has become, is this argument that, well, it potentially will get better. And like, well, once it gets better, I'll buy it. Until then, no.
And Rafa, the supreme archaeologist.
Excuse me.
Scurvy dog.
So, yeah, but I was to get away from early access. You really only get one chance at it, so it's kind of a great situation for a video game critic, because a video game critic, if they only get one chance to release a game, they're always gonna have to make some decision. And I'll always be able to say, well, the other decision might have been better, which is really all I can ever say.
Well played.
I guess if that was alright played. So, like, in, what is that? Fables, one of the Fable games, they kill a dog at the last second. And I could always argue, well, it may have been better if you hadn't killed the dog, or I could argue that, well, it would have been better that it was a good thing that you did kill the dog. In that example, actually, it was a horrible thing that they killed the dog, because you were pretty much given a wish. They killed the dog out of just nowhere. No indication at all that the dog could die, and you'd been playing with the dog for like 40 plus hours, and it never died or gotten hurt or anything that you couldn't heal him from. And then they just kill him out of the blue, and then they give you a wish that where you could either get a ton of money or a super powerful weapon, or bring the dog back to life. And if you didn't bring the dog back to life, then you never saw the dog again. So your initial thought would be to bring the dog back to life, and actually you would have done better with the money, because the game was so over by the time you get the wish. It was practically the last thing you could do, that there was no need for it. But to not talk about a Fable game, which doesn't really matter, because not sure they ever are going to come out to PC, or if they did come out to PC or anything. I'd have to investigate all of that.
Practice makes perfect.
So, but yeah, they only get one shot at it, and again, like I said, it's not a full thought, but it means some. In my mind, there's non-verbal thoughts and emotions going with that is telling me, well, if they only get one thought of it, that means they'll always make mistakes, and even the creators of the games, which obviously this is true, even the creators of the games are going to look at their games a month after it's released and say, man, I should have done that better. Or they're going to look a year later and they're going to say, man, I should have done that better. And it's very possible that the creators of a game may say, man, I should have killed the dog. And then a year later they said, man, I shouldn't have killed the dog. Though the Witness is a good example of this, because when the Witness was being developed, there was a story in it. And at the end of it, Jonathan Blow, in what I saw in the interview, said he just changed in his life and he felt there shouldn't be a story in it. And so I wouldn't be surprised if in a year or longer, he comes back and says, yeah, there definitely should have been a ending in it. And I don't immediately just assume the reason why those opinions may change in the future is because he's just being duplicitous to sell video games. I suppose you can be cynical and assume that anytime any creator of a game, once they change their mind about how a game should be made, that they are just saying what they think should be said to get their next game sold. I'm gonna wait a turn. Of course, that was always the problem, not with Jonathan Blow, but Phil Fish, I believe is his name, the guy who pretty much made Fable. How come it keeps getting back to Fable? I don't know. But yeah, Phil Fish certainly had a habit of overpromising his new game and then trashing his old game and saying, "Oh yeah, we fully admit that one was garbage, but this new one that we've got, that's gonna be the real one. That's gonna have all these awesome new features." And then that game will come out and it will be a slight disappointment and not have all the features that Phil Fish had. I hope it really is his name is Phil Fish. I think it is. So half the features talked about the game having won't be there, and were never planned to be there, from what I've heard. So. But there's a difference from. It takes a lot of stuff to have to happen before you can assume that that's what people are doing. You shouldn't just be cynical and assume every creator, because they changed their mind, said that. And it's really just an issue of explaining yourself well. I see this with a lot of people, politicians in particular. You can see it real easy in politicians. None of them want to look weak. None of them want to be claimed to be a flip-flopper. So when they do change their mind on the topic, they, instead of just saying, well, I changed my mind, I'm a human being, I'm allowed to do that, they go and say stupid things like, oh, I never flip-flopped, I was always for it, even though there's clear evidence that they were against it before. And I'm not even talking to any specific instance here. So if you watch enough politicians, which I don't recommend watching politicians at all, but you'll see it.
We must cleanse the sun well.
If people like that just explain themselves and said, at the time, I felt this way. The information I had was this, and this is why I felt this way. If I felt this way because it was emotional, then yes, okay. You can say that. You can say, I felt this way because my emotions made me feel this way, and I didn't have any knowledge that I do have now, and I've learned this, and this. I've piece of evidence that has changed my attitude on this. Or if you're a politician, just say, well, the polls have changed. I mean, really, the politician should just say, the polls have changed, and now more of the population is for it. And I'm supposed to represent the population, therefore, since I don't have any particular... therefore, I'm going to support it, even over what I believe personally. That would speak towards integrity in a politician, to say, I'm going to support what the populace is shown because the polls say it, and I don't have any reason to go against the people. Now, that doesn't mean that all leadership should just be populist vote, where the majority gets this rule, although that is certainly a concept to think about. But if you just don't care, if you're just a politician trying to keep your job and get more voters, why not just say it? Truth. Anyways, why are we talking about politicians? I was talking about, yeah, you only get one chance to have a conversation, and whatever comes out of your mouth is what comes out of your mouth. If I certainly don't script myself. I could certainly try to do things like that. I could say, why not script this and write it down and actually think about what you're saying. It's just too much work. Massive amounts of videos I make in a week when I'm actually working and doing my job right, it just would be reduced if I script myself. And that's why I don't do edits. That's why I wouldn't do jump cuts, although jump cuts would require me to have my face on screen, which I wouldn't want to do anyways for other reasons. It's just silly. In my belief, my opinion. So, there's something else I was going to talk about, because there's nothing more to say there. Like I said, it was an unfinished thought, and I'm still thinking about it, but it is a new perspective to look at games. And I may have been, in the past, a little too lenient, and a little too strict in just the kind of assumption that all games are complete and finished products. They should be, but not that they're complete and finished products. They should be that, but that all games are the pinnacle of the ability of the creators, and they really aren't. And I should keep that in consideration. I don't think it really would have changed any of my criticism of the game, because my criticism is never an evaluation of the ability of the creators. It's the evaluation of a theoretical perfect creator that I have in my mind, which is to say, I'm always going to say this could be better, I think this could be done better, this could be done better. And I've rarely, if ever, given any slack. So if somebody told me that a video game was made by a, let's say, 12-year-old, and I would criticize it just as I'd criticize anything else with that, because but I might have given some slack there if I knew it was a 12-year-old. But usually I say this needs to be better, this needs to be better, this needs to be better. Still,
here we go.
But yeah, mostly I have assumed that the game, looked at it from a perspective of something that could be perfected. That the video game programmers could do perfect work. That they could potentially not make mistakes. And that's really where it boils down to the thought you only get one chance, is that honestly they can't. I have seen in my own performances in tasks that my brain, the part of me that makes me a human being, demands, absolutely requires that if you go long enough, you will make a mistake. You just have to.
So
You
many
cannot,
options.
like a robot, you cannot be some kind of robot that would never break down or have an error and constantly turn out the perfect answer. Hey, of course, and I've seen that myself too, definitely. Eventually I just want to make a mistake. Not consciously, but subconsciously, definitely. Let's see, I have 6, so I can play this. Hope this hits this guy. It doesn't, whatever.
Here
Let's
we
just keep
go.
on hitting him in the face. I'm about to win. Good. I think it was definitely the right choice to go to casual, but that could have been a mistake. You certainly see me make mistakes playing these games. I'm sitting here talking, not focusing. This deck, for instance, has gotten 21 victories and lost 24, so we know that it has a 52% chance of victory, which is not a great, it's not a great setup. Was I playing with Hunter or Warrior? Warrior. Wait a minute. Actually, I'm gonna play as the Paladin or Priest now because the game is bugged. And as soon as I finish this game, it's gonna give me the victory and say that quest is done because it already is done. Yep, stupid Hearthstone, it's gotten so buggy. Maybe it was buggy back then too, like before I started recording Hearthstone, I don't know. But it's definitely buggy now, undoubtedly.
Anduin versus Garrosh.
Victory!
I don't know what else there is to
The
talk
light
about.
shall bring victory.
That's an interesting problem to have. So many games. Let's talk about Ghostbusters. I'm about to play the Ghostbusters video game. It totally behooves me. I mean, not behooves. Bemuses me that they made a new Ghostbusters movie and they didn't just use the video game storyline. It really, really seems ridiculous that it wouldn't be somewhat close to this. And all I've seen is like the first trailer, and I've barely even seen that for this new one. And it seems like it's just gonna be a remake of the first movie with an all-female lead, which just seems weird to me. I mean, if you want to get into some hardcore United States history, all you have to do is look at the segregation and Jim Crow laws that were instilled after slavery was technically made illegal on a federal level, and see the problem just in the initial thought. Just on the initial thought, the problem with making a Ghostbusters movie and it being all female. There is never going to be a separate but equal in a movie any more than there was truly separate but equal during segregation. just can't happen and won't happen. So, if they wanted to have more female characters, that's fine. Because, in all honesty, the movie that came out in the 80s, Ghostbusters, had one female main actress who was definitely there for some sex appeal and not a lot of anything else. And
Are you afraid of the dark?
then there was probably, let's see, I would say there was 5, 6, maybe 7 main male characters, which is quite a lot. And then there was Slimer, who was a ghost that was there, and there was a couple other ghosts there. And then there was Janine, the secretary, who was there for comedy relief, and she didn't get as much screen time as they needed. There's too many people in Ghostbusters in general. So yes, totally in comparison, you're saying 2 females to like 7 main male characters. A lack of balance there, as was pretty common in that day and age and that time. Let's play this, and play this. That worked. In fact, in the movie industry, it's pretty common, period. It's a heavy issue where there aren't as many females as there are males. There aren't, they try to balance it out by having chick flicks and that are full of females and then have only one, but that's just not what needs to be done. That's not solving the problem. Segregating all the female actresses to chick flicks doesn't work, and that's all this really is done in their initial thought here, is to have a chick flick that is also a Ghostbusters movie. And that's not what, I don't think that's what many females want. I don't think that's what the female actresses or actors want. They're all more and more all just going by the
In the
term
lad's name.
actor as a gender non-specific term. But yeah, they don't just, I don't think anybody wants them except for the higher up bigwigs and movie people that just want to pay lip service to it. If you're going to redo Ghostbusters, do 2 and 2. That's the truth of it. Don't do separate but equal. Don't do segregated. You do desegregated or just mixed. You have 2 females, you have 2 males, they are equal Ghostbusters, they all work together, and that is that. It's just that simple. That's what should have been. It's too crazy to do that. And honestly,
The damned stand ready.
you can pull that off really easily because there's tons of actors and actresses. Again, I'll use that term now, I guess, for a little bit. But there is a ton of those who haven't been on, who don't get enough work. Ton of actors and actresses that don't get enough work. You can introduce new people. If they had tried to connect it and put like one of the older Bill Murray or Dan Aykroyd, one of them as like a manager or straight up just as one of the members of the Ghostbusters, and then he hires in a whole bunch more of the team, more people, that would be great. Man, I'm winning really well today, that's good. But yeah, that's what it should have been done. See, I told you I'd get that quest. That was the Rogue and Warrior quest. But yeah, just keep it the same. Now, let's put all that to the side for a second. Here's the other thing that's wrong with the Ghostbusters from seeing the trailer. I don't think anybody wants a remake of that movie. Much like nobody really wants a remake of Casablanca. I don't want a remake of Blade Runner. I don't want a remake of any of the Indiana Jones movies, although they are making a 5th Indiana Jones movie, which I have no idea if I should trust that at all as something that will come out or something that would be good. So I don't want a remake of the original Ghostbusters, and that's what that looks like. I think you have to take that mythos and you have to sit down for a good long moment and think, how are we going to do this thing? Is it going to be, how are we going to expand the mythos? Because when you think about the Ghostbusters mythos, it's kind of this weird mixed match of old things and new things all kind of mixed together. Like, they don't do something like Supernatural where... Should I use the coin here? No? Wow. What am I doing? I'm getting all these victories for no reason. Let's play again. Like, you think about the first Ghostbusters movie, it was a ancient god that controlled demons that basically went into a hell dimension. So it's a cross-dimensionality understanding of ghosts, but it's also human beings can be ghosts, and also but there can also be demon or demonic ghosts that aren't there. The second movie had the whole slime, which is just a physical manifestation of hate, and that was certainly something unique. Yeah, we'll play this. I think that's worth it. And then you had, let's see, Slimer. You assume Slimer is some kind of demonic ghost that wasn't ever human, but some of them, like the librarian, certainly were human. So it's this weird mix match, and it's not like Supernatural. It's not like do a ring of salt around it to stop them from being able to attack them. It's not like swing pure iron through a ghost and it will dissipate it. There's no apparently exorcism stuff at all possible. There's no blessing of a house stuff that's possible, because in all honesty, if you could just bless a house and then the ghost would be gone, then the Ghostbusters job is not necessary. And so that gets out of there. The science and the quantum containment stuff is all garbage, and it needs to be updated. So you need to think really what you can do with a new story, what you can do with an old story, with the old story as far as Ghostbusters, just to modernize it and just to make it be something. Because if you could theoretically take all the ghost elements out of a Ghostbusters story, and it would just be a story about 4 exterminators killing rats that were in the middle of a huge rat infestation in New York. Because that's really all the main of the plot is. So, yeah, I'm really just kind of...
For justice!
You're gonna have to put a lot of thought of it, and I don't know what you would do there. I don't know what the new story you can put in this is, what you can do to bring that about. You know, I can't believe we've gotten all the quests done in 2 recordings. That's fine by me, but let's play a little bit more though. We've got more work to do. I'll see, let's play a little ranked. We've got all the quests, we're at 8,900. That it's interesting, if I can get really lucky, it would be cool if I got all the way to 100 packs. 50 packs of the old packs, 50 packs of the new packs. Or
Vanir versus
it's
Manly.
almost certain that if I had 100 packs,
Modern.
Watch your
I'm
back.
probably should just open 100 packs of the new stuff, and at that point, and forget goblins versus gnomes. Seems like Hearthstone's gonna forget it. You fought a god in Ghostbusters 1. You fought a god in Ghostbusters 2. What can you fight in Ghostbusters 3 but another god? I mean, you can't have a power. You can't have the power scale go down. You could try. I mean, you certainly could try. It could be because they're a new group, you just fight some simple things. Maybe you try to throw some more myth into it. Maybe there's some way some human bad guy is bringing ghosts there. You could have him be a real estate like baron trying to buy out land for cheap. I don't know if Ghostbusters works if it's not set in New York, and it seems like it's set in New York still. A Ghostbusters set in any other city, like California. I have the thought that if it was set in California, people wouldn't even call the Ghostbusters. They'd be just like, whatever, man.
Feed the fish.
Live and let live.
Job's done.
So that's certainly a thought. But yeah, if you expanded it and had a human that was somehow manipulating the ghost,
Speak to me.
in Ghostbusters 2, there's a human that was being used and working with the ghost, but not one that was just straight up being manipulated. Oops, I did not do that quite right. Oh well. Let's go ahead
Here
and kill
we
this
go.
guy.
Yo ho.
Maybe you could have some kind of byproduct that could be made from the ectoplasm and the slime
Armor
of
made
the
to
ghosts. Maybe you could try to go a different route with it, because
Armor
the
made
Ghostbusters
to fit.
really just capture and imprison them in a pocket dimension. Isn't that what happens in the containment chamber?
Marks the spot.
So maybe you
Here
could
we
try to
go.
actually deal with why ghosts are there. You try to figure out why they are some ghosts are wandering around, but it's not just every ghost everywhere. Or you could certainly have a crisis where every dead person's ghost shows up all of a sudden, and then the whole planet's full of them. You could certainly do that. I can't think for a second you go very far away from ghosts, though. You can't introduce zombies, vampires. You can't introduce other creatures, werewolves, things like that. If you could have a funny scene in the Ghostbuster movie where it's like, there's a bunch of vampires that have been reported at this club, and it turns out it's just like a live action role playing club or something, or just a bunch of crazy kids that think they're vampires or something. And you could have a funny instance of that, certainly. But
Die, landlubber.
here, let's go
Here
ahead and do
we go.
this. And we'll kill this one to get this one out of the way so we can get a 10 to the face here. But even if they can squeeze enough to make a Ghostbusters 3, I don't think you can make a Ghostbusters 4. If I was in charge of it, which why would I be in charge of it? Just theoretically, let's say if I was, I would definitely, one more game, I would definitely watch all of the real Ghostbusters cartoon. I would watch the new Ghostbusters cartoon too, because that, I haven't seen any of that. That's kind of a thing. Every single bit, every single toy, every single thing that people loved, I would want to see it again, try to get a feel for it, try to do something with it.
I will fight with honor.
Watch your back.
In 2016, when it's coming out, can you get away? Here's the question: can you get away with like them fighting the devil completely? Can you go full-on possession and just have them fight the devil? It would be a sad thing if it wasn't the original Ghostbusters that were doing that. And I think that right at the core of it, I keep saying that phrase too, but I think that's a problem already, is that people do not like these characters.
Reporting for duty.
Going in, they don't like the characters, even regardless of the fact that they are girls or whatever. You shouldn't like the characters, just in general speak, because you don't know who they really are. Then they're not famous comedians like the comedians that were in Ghostbusters 1. Bill Murray had a career before Ghostbusters, I'm pretty sure. And the others were bit-time actors, but this wasn't their first rodeo either. So there's definitely a difference there. Just a real reason why you don't know these characters and you don't particularly already have a fondness for the actors. And furthermore, there is the whole controversy that has about half your viewing audience saying they don't like that it's all girls, that say that you don't like the characters. I haven't seen anything in the trailers or any of their acting abilities that would change my mind or make me think for a second that I should like them.
Here we go.
So they're gonna struggle in the first half of the movie just trying to get us to like these people, whereas in the first half of Ghostbusters 1, I'm pretty sure they kind of worked so you didn't like the characters. They spent most of the first half of the movie just explaining what ghosts were, because it was so old that there was a small chance at least people wouldn't know. Or at least how it would work in this universe. There's so many sci-fi movies, so many ghost-related movies have come out and been made in the time in between. That things can just be thrown out as explanations and people will get it. Like the whole do a circle of salt and ghosts can't cross it. That would have had to have been in the original Ghostbusters explained, really explained, and had a conversation probably asking why is that even the case, and then saying, well, we really don't know, we just know it works. You really have to.
Want a deal?
There's just a ton of extra stuff there that would have needed to make sense, that now are already in the vocabulary of the minds of most viewers, so they don't have to worry about it. I mean, remember, we've had like 6 Harry Potter movies. We've had so many other things that have just explained these things, and the explanations are always somewhat overlapping, because it all comes from the same sources and the same original concepts that are lesser known.
Do you have the artifact?
It's a deal.
Job done.
There's definitely more time, I suppose, in Ghostbusters 3, or this Ghostbusters remake. I'm just probably going to call it Ghostbusters 3 for the moment. That there will be more time to try to get us to like these characters, but one thing we could think about, certainly, is the fact that they were trying to date the sex appeal character of in Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2. They were trying to date her, at least one or two of the guys. So, but beyond that, there was the secretary and the other, and the nerdy guy with the glasses had kind of this flirtatious thing going on in the game.
Put your faith in the light.
In the movie, sorry. But I suppose what you could try to do here is show that there are some men in these females' lives, and that they are not just staunchly all loners like the first set of Ghostbusters. I mean, they practically were all single bachelors, as far as the movie has left the impression to.
What you want?
If they were married, their wives were never shown, and I don't think they were. I don't think it even would have occurred to them. So, if they want to adapt to a more modern sensibility in Ghostbusters 3, sure, show us that all four of these women have some kind of guy in their life or girl in their life. There can be some lesbians in there. Shouldn't be all four lesbians, and it shouldn't be maybe even two lesbians, because that's still not really a realistic number as far as statistics. I don't think 50% of all women randomly sampled are lesbians. But if one of them was, that's fine. Or if two of them were and they were dating each other and that's how they got the job, that would be a stretch, but okay. But that again, if you had at least one or two of them that have boyfriends and they're trying to have a healthy relationships, not to say that lesbianism is not a healthy relationship, but they're trying to have relationships that are actual relationships versus the first movie that was really just about trying to have sex with the sex appeal character, and because all the characters in the first one were really immature as part of the comedy. So that would be one way in my mind you could at least start to differentiate yourself, make something different, get it to potentially have some in it. Right now what we've seen in the trailer seems to show that we haven't seen any men, I think, in the trailers at all that I recall. And so now if you're gonna go that way, you almost wonder if there might be something along the way of a universe with no men, or an actual explanation for it. That would be interesting. That might be an interesting way to not connect this movie to the previous game at all, the previous movies at all. You just say this is in a strange universe that only has females. Here we go. And that's kind of weird. I also noticed on my Hearthstone deck tracker there's a little present here for the golden monkey. That's new. He's updated it, I think. Job done. It's a present because it was added to my deck. I don't know what this thing means. I thought this should say 14 at this point. Or... but it doesn't. I don't know. I'll keep it though. This tells me the number of cards left in... no, this is probably the number of cards in my hand, I would bet. I have 0 cards in my hand right now. I'll have to play with that next time. Well, regardless, we're still not getting up to rank 21. Even when we start to have some victories, it doesn't really help. Yes, it will be very interesting to see the reviews for this new Ghostbuster movie. But honestly, I don't know how to help it. As someone who sees themselves as an amateur movie critic, I just don't know how to help it without major rewrites, major recasting, just starting over from scratch. It seemed to have gotten off the rails very early in production as far as I can guess. Well, we're at 8,900, we got all the quests done, and that means we are done for this recording session. Still can purchase Goblins vs. Gnomes for a little bit. I suppose if I do get another 1,100 gold before the expansion comes out, which is highly unlikely, but if it happened, I would open 100 packs. Otherwise, I'm thinking I'm pretty much just going to label my video open 50 packs, because so many videos will be named that I imagine so many people will be searching that. But maybe not. Maybe that is the wrong thing. Maybe I should do 51 packs, because then there'd be a lot less people to open 51 packs. Or maybe I should do 89 packs, and then there'd be even fewer videos. But I seriously doubt anybody's gonna ever go into Google and say a Hearthstone opening 89 packs of the Whispers of the Old Gods. That just doesn't seem likely. Anywho, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps out. If you want to support me, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.